everyone, I'm Rincey and this is Rincey Reads. Today I'm going to be doing a book review on The Art of Miracles by Thompson. Before I get started on the book review, I just want to say that this cover is really beautiful. It kind of looks like there are stars making up the words, and I mentioned this when I hauled this. There are little holes in the cover and you can see through to what's underneath, and then on the actual book itself there is a silhouette printed, which is really quite gorgeous. I love it a whole lot, and they redesigned the book for the paperbacks and it's so ugly. I'm very upset that they did that. I feel like that is not going to help the sales of this paperback book, but I don't know, I don't work in publishing. One day people wake up and they find out on the news that the rotation of the earth has slowed down, so instead of taking 24 hours for a full rotation to take place, it takes longer. So I think it starts out around 25 hours and every day it slows down more and more, so over the course of a couple of days, you know, it gets to 26 hours and longer. So the amount of time that you have daylight as well as the amount of time you have darkness is increasing every day just because there are more hours to every day. But that in and of itself isn't really what happens in this story. This is very much a coming of age story and it follows Julia. She's the one who's narrating this whole thing, and it basically goes through this specific town in California where Julia lives and just talks about how people are sort of reacting to what's happening. I really enjoyed this novel, I'll say that straight out. There are flaws in it, I will admit that. One of the things I sort of had trouble with in the beginning was the logic and the science behind this problem that's happening to the earth. Part of me is just very much like, this doesn't completely make sense. Why is this happening? I mean, it's the same questions these characters are going through at the same time, but I had to come to this point where I chose to ignore that aspect of it and realize that's not really what the story is about. This isn't pretending to be some sort of scientific book. It is about these characters, and this is just a situation that these characters are put in, and it's about how these characters react to that situation, how they learn to adjust and adapt, or how they don't adjust and adapt. And I do kind of like stories like this because when you're reading about the situation, I tend to sort of put myself in their shoes and be like, what would I do in this situation? How would I react? One of the big things that ends up happening, you know, the days are getting longer. There comes a point when, you know, you wake up in the morning and it's like 9 o'clock in the morning and it's still dark outside. So the world is sort of faced with this question of, well, should we run still according to this 24-hour model? Do we just adjust our whole work schedules and school schedules so that way kids are always in school when it's light outside, and just all of these sort of situations, and you're like, which is actually better? There's also effects like what happens to crops, like if they don't get sunlight for 20 hours, that's obviously going to affect how they are able to produce fruit, and then you have a shortage of food, and just all these things, and weather's getting thrown off, and tides, and there's just so much affected by these things. Julia, who's the main character, is only in junior high. She's going through a lot of just the normal preteen, teen problems of trying to figure out who her friends are. Everything dealing with Julia I really loved. I felt like I knew exactly what Julia was dealing with, so much of it, and I just wanted to like give her a hug and be like, it's gonna be okay. She's faced with just so many issues, and even just like with her own parents, even with that dynamic, I think this book does a really good job of introducing characters, and I feel like you do get to know all of these characters really well, even though this book isn't really that long. And I will say I wasn't really crazy about the ending of this book. It just wasn't completely satisfactory for me, but at the same time I enjoyed the book enough that I wasn't going to hate the book because of the ending. I know a lot of times for some people the ending can make or break a book for you, so I can't necessarily guarantee that you're gonna love this book as much as I did if you're that type of person, because I felt like the ending was a little bit meh. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads though, and I did put it in my favorite shelf because I feel like I really connected with a lot of these characters, and that's really what's most important to me. Understanding the characters, not necessarily always liking them, but understanding them, just really enjoying the journey that they go on, even though I may not necessarily like where they end up. So yeah, that's my review of The Art of Miracles. If you've read this book, feel free to leave your comments down below. So yeah, that's all I have for now, and thanks for watching.